The 122mm D-30 is an unusual howitzer in many ways. It has participated in nearly all major conflicts over the last 65 years. Over 60 countries preferred it in large quantities, making it the Kalashnikov of howitzers. As the weapon detective, we're now investigating the D-30 and trying to answer as to why this once favored artillery piece for many nations is currently losing its importance in modern armies. The D-30, with a GRAU index of 2A18, is now an all-girl, yet remains indispensable for its many operators. It might be the most preferred howitzer for recent improvised truck-mounted artillery systems. Like the AK-47, this gun is easy to produce and maintain, low-cost, robust, and highly efficient for its class. Although its contribution to the Soviet victory in the Second World War was undeniable, the 122mm M30 became outdated in the 1950s. Designed as its successor, the D-30 entered service in 1963. It replaced not only the 122mm M30s, but also the remaining 76mm M1942 divisional guns in the Soviet Army. Initially, each Soviet tank and motor rifle division had 36 and 72 D-30s respectively. When the U.S.S.R self-propelled howitzer entered service, it was typically assigned to tank regiments and motor rifle regiments equipped with BMP infantry fighting vehicles. The D-30 remained in motor rifle regiments equipped with BTR armored personnel carriers. Although Russia declared in 2013 that all remaining D-30s would be decommissioned and stored, it has not yet closed the production lines for the howitzer. China, Croatia, Egypt, Iran, Iraq, and Serbia also continue to produce D-30 under license. When the D-30 is towed, its two outer trails align to the left and right of the fixed leg, and the barrel is secured with a travel lock. The towing ring is on the muzzle brake. An artillery tractor or a 6x6 truck can tow it at a maximum safe speed of 60 km per hour. The howitzer can also be transported by an Mi-8 helicopter and dropped from the air via parachute. When the D-30 arrives at the firing site, the crew releases the travel lock, which falls back onto the central trail. The firing jack under the carriage is lowered, lifting the wheels off the ground. The two outer trails are each spread out at 120 degrees, and the firing jack is raised until all three trail ends are on the ground, at which point they are staked into position. Effective stabilization length is a fundamental aspect of a gun mount, and legs 120 degrees apart must be longer than those positioned at a smaller angle. Trunnions are situated close to the ground because the recoil system and cradle are unusually located above the barrel, resulting in the barrel's height being 0.9 meters from the ground in the firing position and at 0 degrees. They are also positioned at the very rear of the breech, which maximizes recoil space when firing at higher elevation angles. Furthermore, their rearward placement pushes the recoiling element forward on the mount, enhancing the relative rearward span of the stabilizers and ensuring stability during recoil. The highly efficient multi-baffle muzzle brake absorbs approximately half of the recoil. Additionally, the howitzer is equipped with a hydropneumatic recuperator and a hydraulic brake. However, the D-30 lacks a mechanism to shorten the recoil length as the elevation angle increases. Thanks to its tree trail positioned at 120 degrees apart, the howitzer can achieve a full 360-degree traverse angle. In the early production variant, the barrel's maximum elevation angle is capped at 18 degrees when the breech is positioned over a trail leg. This angle rises to 22 degrees in later variants. The crew is protected via an armored shield. The D-30 features a semi-automatic vertical sliding wedge breech block mechanism. The cartridge and shell are loaded separately. The howitzer's fire control instruments consist of a Type PG-1M panoramic sight, a Type OP-4M45 telescopic sight, and a Type K1 collimator. The D-30 can fire a variety of 122mm ammunition types, some of which are also compatible with the earlier M30. Furthermore, China provides locally developed 122mm long-range high-explosive and extended-range full-bore-based bleed projectiles with ranges of 18,000 and 21,000 meters, respectively. The D-30 also possesses direct fire capability against nearby threats like tanks. The non-rotating fin-stabilized BK-6M high-explosive anti-tank round is capable of penetrating 460mm of steel armor. The howitzer is robust and easy to maintain, requiring no special tools for this work. According to Jane's Armor and Artillery 2002-2003 edition, the crew of the D-30 is 7 people. In the traveling position, the howitzer is 5.4 meters long, 1.95 meters wide, and 1.66 meters high. Its traveling and firing weights are 3,210 and 3,150 kilograms respectively. The 122mm 38 caliber D-30's range is 15,400 meters with a standard projectile and 21,900 meters with a rocket-assisted projectile. The standard rate of fire is 7 to 8 rounds per minute. The elevation of the barrel is between -7 and +70 degrees. It can be traversed at 360 degrees. Unlike the early production models, the D-30M variant features several modifications, including a new double baffle muzzle brake, a square central baseplate instead of a round one, and a new towing ring assembly. Nevertheless, it is ballistically identical to the earlier version. The D-30A variant incorporates minor enhancements such as a new cradle and a modified recoil system. The Croatian D-30 HR M94 model features a new double baffle muzzle brake instead of the original slotted one. Its fixed trail leg has been redesigned with braking system components and electrical installations integrated into it. The howitzer is equipped with a sighting device that includes a scale division of 360 along with mechanisms that facilitate the easy use of firing tables in accordance with NATO standards. The Croatian engineers have outfitted the D-30 HR M94 with a manual hydraulic firing jack, allowing the weapon to be rotated with deployed trail legs for effective handling in the firing position. This version also incorporates a single-chamber hydraulic recoil brake with a hydraulic compensator located inside the hydraulic brake cylinder. Similarly, the Serbian D-30J features a simpler double baffle muzzle brake. It is equipped with a hydraulic firing jack instead of a standard mechanical one, which enhances and accelerates the weapon's handling in the firing position. The D-30J is capable of firing the locally developed 122mm M76 high-explosive projectile, which has a range of 17,300 meters. The main armament of the 2S1 Gvozdika is based on the ordnance of the D-30. This weapon is also used on the Chinese Type 85, PLZ-89, PLZ-07 SH3, PLZ-07B, and PLL-09, the Cuban AAP BMP 122, the Egyptian SP 122, the Iranian Rad 1, the North Korean M1977 and M1985, and the Romanian OAPR Model 89 self-propelled howitzers. Similar to Cuba's AAP T-122, Egypt and Syria created distinctive T-34 tank-based mobile artillery systems. Eritrea produced a Type 69 tank-based improvised self-propelled howitzer, while Lebanon, Libya, Peru, and Yemen opted for the Tiran, M113, AMX-13, and ATS hulls, respectively. Furthermore, the Chinese PCL-09, CS-SH-1, CS-SH-4, PCL-171, and SH-2, the Cuban Jupiter-3, the Iranian Haydar, the Israeli-Kazakh Semser, the Serbian SORA, and the Sudanese Halifa track-mounted howitzers are equipped with the D-30. Algeria also developed the system based on the Zetros 2733 truck, while Egypt and Laos preferred the Ural 4320. These howitzers are even mounted on pickup trucks. The D-30 has fought nearly all major wars and conflicts since the early 1960s. It was created for a Third World War, during which massive armies would be involved. However, the recent Russo-Ukrainian war has revealed that it is no longer appropriate for a modern total war. In 2021, a Ukrainian Bayraktar TB2 unmanned aerial vehicle silenced the separatist D-30 in Donetsk. It was one of the early signs that the battlefields would be fundamentally transformed. According to the Oryx blog, the confirmed losses for Russia and Ukraine were 64 and 11 D-30 artillery pieces respectively as of January 2025. As mentioned, Russia had declared in 2013 that all remaining D-30s would be decommissioned and stored. However, the country has not fulfilled the terms of its plan. the howitzer has returned to the battlefield due to the urgent needs of war. The result is, to say the least, unsatisfactory. When the D-30 was developed, the Soviet Army was still loyal to the doctrines of the Second World War. As a result, heavy and long-range artillery was typically favored for assault, whereas light and medium artillery were preferred for defense. During those years, counter-battery radars were still rudimentary, and artillery killer drones had not yet emerged, making it less risky to place artillery near the front line than it is today. Moreover, this setup improved communication between the front line and the fire support units of the 1960s non-network-centric armies. These factors made light artillery more suitable for defensive roles. You might still wonder why a country would not exclusively manufacture extended-range artillery and instead opt for lighter and medium options. The answer is that such systems are costly. The doctrines of the Second World War also required gigantic armies. According to the Military Balance 2025 edition of the International Institute for Strategic Studies, Russia, currently at war, possesses just over 5,000 artillery pieces. In the 1960s, the U.S.S.R. had tens of thousands of field guns and howitzers. To have such a large arsenal, countries also had to manufacture light and medium artillery, which were easy to produce and low cost. Even NATO members had numerous 105mm guns. Similar to Westerners, the Russians utilized 107mm guns in large artillery roles during the early 20th century. However, studies from the 1930s indicated that the 122mm caliber was adequate for destroying field fortifications. Additionally, it was the smallest caliber that enabled the development of a specialized concrete-piercing projectile. Consequently, the Russians gave up the 107mm in favor of 122mm in light artillery roles. The D-30 was superior in nearly all aspects of NATO's 105mm artillery pieces and was only about 1 ton heavier than the M101. Its long barrel provided the howitzer with a range of 15,400 meters, far exceeding that of its Western counterparts at that time. The ranges of the 105mm M101 and 155mm M114 were 11,270 and 14,600 meters. Even the early model of the self-propelled M109 lagged behind the D-30 in terms of range. Therefore, the gunners of the Soviet howitzer did not need to worry about counter-battery fire from them. Another advantage of the D-30 was its ability to traverse 360 degrees. However, it was not an innovation. Germany developed the 10.5 cm Leichtgefeldhowitzer 43 during the Second World War. Although this howitzer never entered mass production, many sources consider it as the basis for the D-30's design. Furthermore, the French Obusier de 105 Model 1950 and the Swedish 10.5 cm Hobbits M4140 shared similar lines and capabilities with the D-30. However, we must acknowledge that the D-30 was the most successful. In the late 1960s, both sides began to adopt mobile and fluid warfare doctrines, rendering towed artillery like the D-30 obsolete for the Soviet Army, which subsequently switched off to self-propelled 2S1. Still, this towed howitzer remains a capable artillery system for many pro-Moscow countries that are not preparing for total war. Additionally, many users have adapted it for use as self-propelled artillery to meet modern combat requirements. Since the 122mm D-30 was far superior to its rival, the Western 105mm artillery, many countries quickly adopted this howitzer. Changes in doctrine and the emergence of the 152mm and 155mm guns with extended range and enhanced destructive power naturally overthrew the king. Although it is no longer on the throne, the D-30's role on the modern battlefield has not yet ended. Thanks for watching our video, and please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the bell button to be notified of our new videos. Also, you can now click the join button to support our channel. And as always, we would greatly appreciate all of your likes, comments, and shares.